Welcome to What the Tech, the show that cuts right through the hype to give you the hard-hitting commentary on what's really going on. And today, man, are we diving into a big one. There's a massive shift happening in the workplace. The ground is literally moving under everyone's feet. And trust me, it's not an earthquake. It's a power grab. Just forget everything you've thought you know about the balance of power after the pandemic. This quote right here, it says it all. There is a dramatic and, frankly, a pretty brutal vibe shift underway. That whole era of employee leverage, it is being deliberately and very carefully dismantled. And that brings us to our first big idea today, the Great Resentment. Yeah, some are calling it the official sequel to the Great Resignation. Let's be really clear here. This is being framed as pure payback. It's about resentment. You could even say it's about social class. It is a raw, unfiltered reminder from the C-suite about who is really in charge, and believe me, they are not being subtle about it. So, okay, how is this actually playing out? Let's dig into Section 2, the boss's playbook. We're going to look at the specific strategies being used to reclaim control. The analysis points to this kind of three-step strategy. Step 1, you put a lid on those wages that just skyrocketed during that hiring frenzy a while back. Step 2, you force a return to the office, which is all about reasserting control over where and when people work. And for Step 3, in some cases, you actively roll back those pandemic-era raises. It's basically a calculated three-pronged attack. And look, this isn't just a theory, okay? The data is starting to prove it out. A 2023 report from ZipRecruiter found that nearly half of U.S. companies admitted they were already lowering the pay they were advertising. The message couldn't be clearer. The era of those massive, once-in-a-generation raises is over. Done. So now, let's get to the fun part. Section 3, the real story, payback. This is where we peel back all those layers of polite corporate speak to find out what's really driving all this. Oh, you've heard this a million times, right? The official reason for forcing everyone back to their cubicles is always about improving collaboration, or fostering teamwork, or my favorite, strengthening our culture. It sounds great, sure, but it's often just masking a much, much colder calculation. But behind that official PR line lies the real strategy. These return-to-office mandates, a lot of the time, they're just a form of strategic attrition. It's a backdoor way to reduce your headcount without all the bad press and messy severance packages that come with formal layoffs. I mean, the disconnect is just stark. The official reason might be to boost productivity, but the analysis suggests the real motivation is headcount reduction. They say it's to foster collaboration, but it's really seen as a move to reassert control. And strengthening culture is often just code for punishing worker autonomy. Yeah, it's a cold, calculated move. It's a way to get the people who really value flexibility to basically quit on their own, which, saves the company money and sends a pretty powerful message to everyone who's left. We are in charge. But this corporate payback hasn't exactly gone unanswered. And that brings us to Section 4, worker counterattacks. Because you see, employees are pushing back with some pretty clever new forms of resistance. So first up, you have revenge quitting. Now, this is not that passive, quiet quitting we heard so much about. Oh no, this is an active, aggressive move. We're talking about an abrupt resignation, often timed perfectly to cause the most pain and disruption to the business, like right before a huge project deadline or in the middle of a critical sales quarter. Ouch. And then there's the emergence of a new species, the coffee badger. This is the worker who complies with the letter of the RTO law, but not the spirit. They badge in, they make sure their boss sees them, maybe they grab a cup of coffee, and then, poof, they quietly slip back home to actually get their work done. And the resistance, well, it gets even more creative. We're seeing this rise in small, kind of subversive acts of compliance. Think about it. Never picking up the office landline, spending just a little too much time socializing in the break room, or the all-time classic act of office warfare, burning the microwave popcorn. It's like death by 1,000 tiny resentful cuts. All right, let's get to our final section, the bottom line, power. When you strip away all the corporate speak and the justifications, what is this whole struggle really truly about? Well, according to the analysis, it all just boils down to 3 raw motivators. This isn't about spreadsheets, folks. It's about psychology. First and most importantly, it's about power, plain and simple. The C-suite is taking back the control that it, very begrudgingly gave up during the pandemic labor shortage. This is a forceful restoration of the good old traditional corporate hierarchy.
Second, it's about pride. Let's not forget, leadership has not forgotten the sting of employees just walking out the door for a 16% raise somewhere else. There's a real corporate memory at play here, and this is them reasserting their dominance. And number three, well, it's about payback. It's a punitive response to a few years when workers actually had some real leverage. It's a direct message that the whole dynamic is shifted, and it's not going to be shifting back anytime soon. At least, not if management has anything to say about it. Ultimately, the verdict from this analysis is crystal clear. The Great Resignation didn't permanently change the game. Nope, it's now being seen as just a temporary anomaly, an unexpected little detour. And now the House is aggressively restacking the deck to make absolutely sure that the House always wins. But that leaves us with one last, kind of provocative question, doesn't it? This power correction, it feels pretty definitive right now, but resentment is a very powerful force. So yeah, the House may be winning this round, but in this ongoing war for talent and control, for how long?